Hey guys, what is up? It is Dom from Final Thoughts, and today I'm going to show you the process and kind of like behind the scenes and knowledge of what it would look like if I was working on an ethical engagement ring for a client. So we're going to go over like ethical gemstone options, recycling old jewelry, recycling old gemstones, and kind of like what that looks like and what you have to know as a client going into that process. So the first things first is that my client, she really wanted something that is ethically made. It was very important for her. And right away when she said colored gemstone, for me, I went directly to sapphire because there are many ethical sapphire choices. The first one obviously is the sapphire is coming from Montana, so that's obviously ethically sourced. Second of all, my dealer actually goes to Sri Lanka and she sources the gemstones herself. She has them cut in a facility that she's visited, she knows. It's really like fair trade all the way. That's why like sometimes not all ethical gemstones have necessarily certificates, but they have a paper trail. Like you can very well ask your dealer to show you like the paperwork for these gemstones to prove that they are ethically sourced. Also, the great thing about sapphires, we have so many colors. Like sapphires, you can get in any single color you want. Black, you can get it clear like a diamond, you can get blue, purple, yellow, orange, you name it, like they've got it. So it's a really great option to consider, especially if you are on a budget or you're just not willing to spend as much on an engagement ring, for example, say as a diamond, because a diamond, I don't know, like 1 carat you're looking at maybe low scale, like maybe 8,000 to 12,000, right? Versus if you're going for a 1 carat white sapphire, then you can very easily get one from between, let's say, 2,000 to like 4,000 price point, depending on how many additional carats, depending who's making it, yada yada. So it's a much more affordable price point. Also, it's like, I'm on a bit of a tangent here, but I really love white sapphire, especially because people I feel like don't know about it very much. So I'd say the main difference between a white sapphire and a diamond is one, obviously the sparkle, like nothing compares to the brilliance of a diamond. And also a white sapphire it has almost kind of like a slightly darkish hue to it. Like it has more of like a gray refraction than what a diamond would have, so sometimes it can appear slightly darker, but it's still an exceptional stone. It's obviously something that I always will suggest before going down the synthetic route because it is natural, and in my opinion natural is always going to be better, but obviously that's up for you to decide. I think it has a hardness of around 9, so it's just below a diamond. So for a ring that you are going to be wearing like forever, it's pretty spot on. I have redone so many engagement rings. I have done so many transformations of heirloom jewelry, like so many. And one thing that you always have to take into consideration is that sometimes the diamonds that are actually set in the metal can be cracked. You cannot see it from like the outside, and when they're in their rings, they look totally fine. But what actually happens is that when you remove the prongs, the diamond is cracked and now there's no longer anything holding it together, and so when you open them they just crumble. General average and like rule of thumb is for every 20 diamonds there's going to be 1 that's cracked. And the older the ring gets, if the ring is like 50 years old or something or more, then obviously you want to increase that average because of like the time and the wear and everything. When we are using old diamonds, they will not sparkle like they sparkle today. The quality of diamonds and the standards of diamonds over the years have gone up like crazy. So today what we have is actually called the Brilliant Cut Diamond. And when you're buying a diamond, guys, the most important thing is really going to be the cut. Everyone thinks it's the quality, the color. It is the cut. The cut is what's going to give that brilliance, it's what's going to give that sparkle to your diamond. If it's not properly cut, you are not going to have that vivid sparkle that you want from a diamond, okay? And not only that, but if your diamond isn't properly cut, it can very significantly, even drastically affect the carat weight. And oftentimes when I'm redoing old jewelry, we are taking the diamonds from the old pieces into the new pieces, and that is fine. That is totally fine if it's for sentimental value, 100%. But do keep in mind it's not going to sparkle as much. And so sometimes when we're making engagement rings, I can suggest that you keep those diamonds for another project and we get a nicer quality, nicer cut diamond for your engagement ring to really give it, you know, that sparkle, because it's something you're going to be wearing forever. So it's something that I usually recommend, especially for colored gemstones. I've taken out so many colored gemstones out of old pieces, and over time they have been completely worn down. It's super common for emeralds, sapphires, like it happens. Like it's inevitable. If it's been worn for 20 years, at some point, yes, the facets are going to be worn down. Really suggest you do is actually bring it into a stone cutter. So you don't have to do it yourself. Your jewelers can deal with that because they will bring it, they will take it, they will unset the stones, they will bring it to your gemologist, and they will facet it for you again. So the gemstone looks good and new. Obviously that's going to reduce some of the carat weight, but like it's really worth it, especially if it's going as like at the center focus, for example. It's not so expensive that I don't recommend it. Generally to recut a stone it goes by carat weight, but I'd say it's about, say like 100, maybe $250, $300 like maximum, right? So if you're talking about a sapphire and emerald, I would definitely redo it. If you're talking about something cheaper, say for example like a topaz, then maybe not, because you know the cutting of the stone is probably worth more than the actual gemstone itself. Alright, so now that we've touched on the gemstone side of things, we're going to go more into the actual gold and like the casting of gold and the reworking of it. And so I get this question all the time: can we cast gold? Recast old gold, excuse me. Yes, obviously we can, but you have to take into consideration that like not all old gold is good. And here's why: because every single mixture of gold has different alloys in it, and you would think that there would be some sort of like standardized mixture, but there actually isn't. Like I can go down here to the jewelry district and there are like at least 10 casting houses, and every single one of them has a slightly different mixture. And what that means is, say 14 karat has about, I think it's like 58% is pure gold. I think it's something like that. 58% is pure gold. And then you have 42% that is a mixture of alloys. And so those alloys will be like nickel, copper, silver, zinc, depending on like yellow, white, whatever. And so everybody will have their own mixture, and like even yellow gold, say 14 karat yellow will be slightly more yellow, slightly more white, you know what I mean? So what ends up happening is when we're casting someone's old gold, we don't actually know what's in there. And it doesn't happen often. It hasn't happened to me often, thank God, but when it does happen, it is a bit of a nightmare. And so you're casting this old gold and it's not good, it's not good quality. So what happens is the castings come out terrible, absolutely terrible, and there's nothing you can do. They come out with kind of like these like little craters, like little holes. At that point there's nothing to be done. You can't file it down, and so what we are left having to do is actually fill these holes by laser and then be able to work it. It adds on a huge amount of labor, and also that's why like you can't be 100% guaranteed to get your piece back and it's going to be perfect. And your jeweler has to like let you know that that is like a reality, a possibility, versus if you're using new gold, it's obviously going to come out crisp, right? A lot of times people ask me, is it cheaper to cast old gold, like to just reuse the old gold? Yes and no. I generally only tell people to reuse their own gold if it's for sentimental value, because otherwise, one, the castings cannot come out well. That can happen, but two, it's actually huge amounts more of labor, because when we're casting somebody's old gold, we cannot mix it with like new gold, which means that we have to cast their piece solo. And when we cast solo, it's like the cost of labor like skyrockets, versus when we're doing a regular batch of jewelry, we can have say 10 pieces to 20 pieces cast at the same time on kind of like this like branch with all the pieces glued to it. It looks like a tree. Then we can do everything at once, and so that really diminishes the cost per piece like significantly. And so that's why when people ask me, is it cheaper? Not really, not really. You know, we also have to do a lot of cleaning, removing all of the solder. So it's really kept for like sentimental purposes. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was informative because I get all these questions very often. So hopefully that helped. Obviously, if you do have more questions, leave them down below. I will be happy to answer them. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye!